everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Fish and Grits, the podcast.
Okay.
Or the podcast for our ASMR fans.
You doing the rock eyebrow right now, Mike?
Today is episode 23. We're recording on Tuesday, October 13th, 2020.
23. Isn't that apropos? Look at that.
Oh boy.
LeBron winning the championship.
Oh, yeah. I was like, 23? What are you talking about? Yeah.
The fake 23.
You numerologist.
The fake 23.
Yeah, I've never really liked that when players all wear 23 because of MJ. Like,
Yeah.
meh.
Yeah, but you also not the biggest MJ fan either.
No, I'm a huge MJ fan. I recognize his greatness, but we'll save that for a little bit later.
I think you just need to make your own path.
Yeah, exactly. I'm Ryan Dollar. I will introduce I'll let my co-host introduce themselves. Gentlemen, if you will.
I'm Marco Eckes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Micah, aka Shaq Diesel. How's everybody doing today?
All right.
Maybe you should take the intros back from now.
Never again. So early voting in Georgia started yesterday.
Mhm.
I got up at 7 a.m. Actually woke up a little late. I was supposed to be there the crack of dawn, but my alarm betrayed me. I got there around 7:15. I'm voting in Gwinnett. And when I got there, the line was probably about 150, 200 people deep already, which was a good sign. When I first pulled up, I was like, oh, crap. But then I was like, wait, no, this is a good thing. This is actually a good thing that the line's this long.
A 1,200-foot line because all these lines are now socially distant.
Yeah. It's like, oh, God, this line's long. Wait, no, it's actually not that bad. Marco, I know you went out and voted yesterday, right?
Yep.
How was the line with you? 3 hours? Where'd you go?
Buckhead Library.
You didn't go down to State Farm?
No, hell no. But some lady drove by in her car and she rolled down. It's like, why y'all waiting in line? Y'all could just go to State Farm. It was like, I'm already here.
I heard that it was like they were churning them.
No, wait. Yeah. There's like 60 to 90 voting booths there.
300 is what I heard.
300?
Oh, yeah.
Geez.
Wow.
Yeah. I heard they just decked it out.
Wow. Voting
it's
day,
on
that's
like
gonna
every
be fun.
level and it's all spread out. I mean, because the place is huge. You can fit a ton. I mean, I could be wrong with the 300, but I think
Thanks,
that's
Keisha.
for real. No,
And-
thank the teams, man. A lot of these teams.
Well,
took
yeah,
the burden.
well, that's it's a collaboration between her and the owners of the teams and stuff, and that's huge.
Have you voted yet, Micah?
Nah, I'm going tomorrow.
Nice.
You going to State Farm?
No, I can't.
The problem, you're a decab.
Yeah.
The problem for me with State Farm, I just don't want to go downtown for any reason ever.
Yeah.
So
Maybe if I
I'll
wanted
wait
to, like,
3
do
hours
something
to
around the
avoid going
area.
downtown. Yeah.
If it were like a normal year, it's like, okay, I'll go down to State Farm and I'll do the things around State Farm, but you can't do anything down there. They're all closed.
Right.
If I were going to work, if I was working the past couple of days, then I would, but I still can't because I'm the cab.
Because you're decab, yeah.
But yeah.
Georgia Public Broadcast posted something yesterday night. I think I posted it on my story that this is the largest early voter turnout ever for the state. You're seeing
doesn't
it's
surprise me.
crazy, man.
It really doesn't surprise me though.
no,
'Cause conservatives are going to show up because Trump has fear-mongered them into believing that the mail-in ballots are terrible.
well, they can
so
still
they're-
vote on normal day though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but a lot of them know they're not going to try to sit in these long lines on normal days. So it's like I'd rather early vote than sit in the line, and I'm going to vote in person.
So I think we had like 110,000 people vote early on the first day in the state of Georgia.
Wow.
And lines were like, when I looked at the line queues at around like 4 o'clock, I think the lowest one I saw was like 3 hours. There were some places that was like 8. So
Cobb was like 5.
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's Trump land.
right. It really is. So just take a second, Georgia, and all of us included, and give yourself a little round of applause here. I know that social media, anywhere you go right now, it's like vote, 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 vote. And I'm glad to see that that's actually getting to people. We are typically we are every 4 years we're in like the bottom third as far as voter turnout goes. Yeah. And we have so many people here and such a diverse group of people here that, major changes and especially changes that we've seen here lately are going to affect our brethren here. So good job. Get out, make your voices heard, go out and vote. On to actual sports news was what we're here for. For those of you who tuned into our live broadcast on Sunday evening after the Falcons game, we were talking about, this is probably the end for Dan Quinn. The reports that came out during the game that it was all but finalized that Dan was done, and the pictures surfaced of Dan throwing up the deuces as he was walking out.
And Arthur Blank came down looking like the Grim Reaper with a big black coat on, even though it's not cold.
It's never good when Arthur Blank shows up on the field. Or it's either extremely good and you're about to win a Super Bowl, right, or it's extremely bad and you just blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, or you're about to get fired. So a lot of people are saying it's going to happen Monday or earlier in the week, something like Tuesday, but he didn't make it through the night and they fired him around I think 9:00. Dan Quinn got his walking papers. He and Thomas Dimitroff are no longer with your Atlanta Falcons. The run for Dan Quinn was 6-7 seasons.
15 to now. So
5 years. He finished at 43-42 in his Atlanta Falcons career. Teeth. Just missed 500. So he is a winning coach for the Atlanta Falcons. Just barely. Thomas Dimitroff, that was his 12th season with the team. He came in with Mike Smith and somehow made it through that debacle when everyone thought when Mike Smith went, he was definitely going. And then made it another 5 years with Dan. So where we stand now is Dan Quinn's gone. Raheem Morris has stepped up as the interim head coach. He was our defensive coordinator. He was a three-time, well, not three-time. He coached for 3 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Only one winning season there.
Three-time coach.
He was a three-time loser in Tampa Bay. And now he's our coach. Guys, what do you think about that? I know we had talked about our choices on who we would promote from within. But what do you think about the fact that now, and not the other moves yet, but let's just talk strictly about Raheem being our head coach, Micah?
I like Raheem Morris. He seems like he's a very good guy. Players seem to like him, but that could also be a bad thing because he's a player. He's very much a player's guy, like Dan Quinn was supposedly a player's guy as well. So it's not terrible, but I'm just looking at this as he's just a stopgap until we can find a new head coach for next year.
What do you think, Marco? What do you think of old Raheem? Like we said, out of just the people that are left in the pantry, I think that he was the best, pick for that because probably, the players probably like him the best and, all that kind of thing. But, it's just a stopgap. The funny thing to me was during Arthur Blank's press conference, they pretty much asked him like, okay, so Raheem, after the season actually get like a legitimate shot at the head coaching spot. And he was like, yeah, if he goes 11-0. So pretty much like, hell no.
Sorry, but this whole regime is done. It's essentially what Arthur said. And a lot of fans, if you look on the like Instagram and YouTube and all these pages where they've announced it, fans are like, fire everybody. And it's like, well, you still need coaches.
Right.
Yeah.
The players still need coaches. Like the players, as good as some of our players are, they're not going to be able to go out and scout and practice and install game plans and make on-the-fly adjustments from overhead.
Just march out there.
You see Julio doing stadium stairs in the middle of the game to get up on when their offense is off the field. He's like, all right, guys, here's what I see. Sprints back down. So I mean, I don't really care too much on who our head coach is right now. This is the end of. I think Arthur is going to literally clean house. I would not be surprised. Oh, and Rich McKay actually steps in and fills in the GM role for.
No,
Thomas
I
Dimitrov.
sort of said that during the thing. Like, we're gonna bring Mitch. We're gonna bring
I
Mitch
laughed
McKay
when
back.
that happened. I was like, "Fucking Marco." It's really crazy that if you think about how our staff is currently comprised, you've got Rich McKay, who was once our GM, was fired, promoted, and now that someone else got fired, gets demoted back into demoted back to GM. You've got Raheem Morris, who was a head coach somewhere, fired, brought on here. Now he's back as a head coach. You've got Dirk Cutter as an offensive coordinator, who was once our offensive coordinator, went to be a head coach, got fired, and is now back here as a head coach. We have so many coaches on our staff and so many people filling spots on our staff that were fired because they couldn't get the job done. It's no wonder.
Retreads.
You know, the optimism got the best of me a couple of times. I was like, these guys are going to get it done here because the players are so good that it's going to happen. But I mean, if you failed other places and you failed here as well because you're not a good coach, it's no real shocker that you failed again. So,
yeah. I mean, we can get into it more when we talk about Dirk, but I think Micah touched on it, how it's like they're pretty much like Dan was like forcing them to run a system that wasn't there. So, you know what I mean? Even though it's probably still wouldn't have worked well, it worked even worse, you know, trying to fit them into something that they just didn't have any comfort with.
Well, like I said, it's just doing coaching an area that's not your forte. I mean, some coaches can adapt, some can't, and we unfortunately have the coaches who can't adapt.
Yeah. So since Raheem has moved up from defensive coordinator to the head coach position, that left a spot open. So Jeff Ulbrich actually takes over the defense. He was splitting calls with Raheem anyway, and I'm sure that's how they're
first and
continue
second down.
The dumbest thing ever.
Was that? I wonder if that was Dan's idea. That's so wacky.
It was. So he takes over the defense. I hope they just let him call it. I don't want to see any more of the split stuff because it wasn't working. It worked down the stretch last year because it was like a Band-Aid. But when you apply it as a major fix and a full-time fix, nah.
I mean, just philosophically, that can never work because first and second dictate what happens on third way too much for a different person to call it. Like, and it's always going to be a different circumstance. So it just never.
I mean, I don't see Raheem trying to impose himself on the Ulbrich. He's probably just going to let Ulbrich call plays. But I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I wonder if they all just sort of like, it's like, oh, thank God Dan's gone. That guy.
I don't know, man. It probably sucks a little bit because this is the guy that gave you a chance and brought you back in and gave you a job. But at the same time, when you're sitting underneath him, you got to see the failures.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I'm like Raheem Morris though. He was out the league for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, before we brought him back. Yeah, actually, I think he was with the Bears for a little bit. I could be wrong, but I think he had a chance somewhere else, and we brought him back in. He was like a position coach when we brought him back. Now the one move that really surprised me, because this unit has been the one unit that's been consistent, except for one play that really messed up. We fired our special teams coach, Ben Katwika. He got the axe as well. So somehow Dirk Cutter, with all the weapons that we've got and all the continuity and all the experience and how smart he is, and our offense has put up 16 points in back-to-back weeks and really just blown it for us, survived. But the guy who has had one blip and is actually known as one of the better special teams coordinators in the league, and our special teams was performing well, he got the boot. I guess that game just really fucking pissed Arthur off.
Right. Arthur was probably just waiting for that one.
Dan, you're not going to fire him. I'm going to do it. So let's get to the elephant in the room, and that is the greasy-haired fuck that is Dirk Cutter, that is still on our coaching staff, that silver-haired fox. That's the one that pissed me off the most. Like, if you're going to get rid of Dan Quinn, you got to get rid of Cutter too. And he's still here. So why is he still here, Micah?
I think it's kind of a bigger picture thing. It's the Shanahan offensive scheme is very complex, and
Can't do it. He never could.
Well, no, I mean, I agree, but it's what's the alternative? Because I mean, who are the other offensive coaches who you think could call the playbook any better? Now, you did say, I know Ryan said Matt Shaw, but I mean, I don't know how realistic that would be to convert him to offensive coordinator mid-season.
It'd be unprecedented.
He knows the offense. He's got to.
Well, he does, but that, I mean, that's not a move that's typical for a franchise to run. So
I don't think it's ever happened before.
If anything, it's just one of those things like, well, more than likely we're going to fire everybody anyway. But just running this all, calling the plays is too tall of a task for anybody else we have on our staff right now. So you're going to keep your job just because of that, and you're gone after the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that it sort of was weird to me that Dirk kept his job, just considering the past two games, his play calling. I mean, and then of course Matt's arm have been the main reasons why we look so terrible, right? Because in the last game, I mean, the defense, sort of did their part, you know what I mean? Which I understand why Raheem, got the least brunt of just that, that last game or two, but yeah, the fact that Dirk is still here, I mean, I don't really get it. He's already incompetent at calling the plays, so to have someone there to say that because it's complex and we need somebody to still interpret doesn't make sense, because he can't do that anyway, so I would have just put, Knapp in there and, just get Dirk out of the building, because I hate his smug answers. I hate his face, and he's just so bad.
I'm really smart, actually, guys.
Right.
Sometimes it just doesn't work, guys. It's like,
I mean, I definitely agree with that. But I definitely agree. Like, I'm not a fan of Dirk Cutter's play calling, but I have felt like Matt a little more to blame in some scenarios, because he's been so bad, but nobody wants to give him credit for it. And it's just like, everybody, it's easier to blame Cutter because nobody likes Cutter than it is to blame Matt, who is the face of our franchise.
Just a side note, and it was very Cutter-esque, but I don't know if y'all were watching that Chargers game last night, but in the I think it was right before overtime when they had a chance to go drive and win the game, and it was like 47 seconds left, and it was first down, and they ran a halfback dive.
Yep.
And then they had to call a timeout. I was like, why the hell did you do that?
Oh, boy. Hey, Micah.
That reminded me of
They'll never see it coming.
To be honest with you, in those scenarios, that's really all you could really think that the offensive coordinator's thinking, like, maybe we'll catch them off guard and break a 30-yarder and then just call time out.
With everyone sitting back in zone and looking in the backfield. Yeah, they'll never see this coming.
Oh my God.
So Dirk Cutter and all his holiness will somehow ride off into the sunset as the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator and then become the head coach at some team because he's really smart. Hopefully it's someone in our division, like maybe Sean Payton gets fired or gets abducted or raptured, and he takes over the New Orleans Saints. And
what's the Texans hire him?
God. Brett Coleman will literally have an aneurysm. So I think the most intriguing thing that came out of Arthur Blank's interview, or his exit interview for Dan Quinn, was when he was asked about Matt Ryan. I'm going to read you what he said. And I really hate how websites decide they just want to play when I don't hit play. All right. So he was asked about Matt Ryan. He said, Matt's been a great franchise leader for us, a great quarterback, one of the leading quarterbacks in the last 13 years in the NFL. So I hope he's going to be a part of our plans going forward. But that will be a decision I won't make. You know, Matt has the ability to play at a high level, even at this age. Whether that's going to continue or not, I'm not sure.
Oh, my God.
I appreciate his willingness to consider doing that and the level of what he's played for us for 13 years, which has been incredible. So I will have to see. But then again, that's going to be a decision at the end of the day. That'll be part of it. Part of it will be up to the player, and part of it will be going to be up to the coaching staff. So it sounds like Arthur is starting to see the writing on the wall as well. Unless Matt just drastically turns it around and he starts hitting the weight room here and his arm gets stronger. Maybe we'll get lucky and maybe he'll work out a deal with Matt. Maybe someone's gonna, really.
It's good to see Arthur Blank being so frank here.
I love that. I love the fact that he isn't saying, you know what, yeah, Matt's our guy. Matt's gonna be. It just lets me know that Arthur wants to win and he sees what we have right now is not doing it. And a lot of these owners will give these endorsements to guys and it's like, why? Come on.
It's crazy though, because like what happened like in the last 2 years, Arthur's been he's a lifetime Falcon. He's a lifetime Falcon. Yeah. He's and now all of a sudden
maybe he's realizing the error of his ways.
Right, kill switch.
You know what?
Psych.
let me tell you a big thing that happened to him. The Five Stripes won a championship. So one of the teams he owned won a championship, and what do? They're constantly moving pieces versus the Falcons, who got there and didn't win anything, and we're trying to hold on to certain pieces so tight, and it's like, no, you got to. It's a business. You have to be willing to part from certain guys.
But he was still talking about lifetime Falcons after that championship. And he was, and I think MLS, I mean, it's a good point, but MLS that's just the nature of MLS. Yeah, you're not going to be able to keep any of those guys.
I agree with that. But at the same time, it's just one of those things. It's like you said, he's starting to see Matt starting to decline. And he's starting to realize like that contract. And he realized as a businessman, he realized how hard it's going to be to get out of that deal that they gave him because of the situation, like, and how he struggled. And it's like, oh crap, if we want to get out of this, like we might have to just ride it out. But I mean, we'll see.
But for him to like sort of like go at what you could perceive at Matt Ryan's confidence, you know what I mean? And like, just like, I like it though, because like we've always said that Matt Ryan doesn't have anybody who pushes him, right? He's like the one sole quarterback guaranteed starter in the room, and he never has anybody putting the fire under him. But this is the first time I've ever heard that kind of thing where it's almost like, well, if he doesn't play well, he's out of here. Like, if he keeps on playing like crap, we're getting rid of his ass.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be the case. I mean, the only way we're gonna do it and survive it though is he turns it around and plays well for us, or we restructure him and trade him. Because if we trade him now, it's $44 million of dead cap over the next 2 seasons for him. Just thundering herd upstairs.
I can't hear that. I can't really hear anything.
It's because I keep muting it.
Yeah, we can't.
I mean,
hear
it's
it.
literally boom, 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 boom.
Douche.
So
douche.
I was watching some of the highlights from the Pat McAfee show, and they were talking about us and the situation. And it's always I like watching shows like that because you get to hear player perspective of how, especially teams like the Colts. They didn't play us a lot, but I'm sure they heard other players talk about Matt, and I'm sure they played him enough to see him. And Pat's opinion of Matt is not that high in the first place.
A lot of players
and
aren't.
Yeah. and they, just the way they were talking about it was kind of like, well, he is what he is, but they think the reason that he's looking like this is just because he's done with the franchise, which I hope is the case, because that would be the doorway to us getting out of that contract.
That's what I was sort of saying when I was watching, because I wasn't even really watching the Falcons. I was just watching Red Zone. And it's just funny when you watch Red Zone and you don't see them show your team. You're like, okay, damn, there's nothing going on in this game. But every time I'd see him, I'd be like, damn,
good.
maybe he's playing this bad because he's trying to get traded or he's done, or you know what I mean? Because he's starting to look like pre-2014 Matt again.
Yeah.
Like scared Matt, like bad, like terrible decision Matt. Like, you know what I mean? He had a 3-year stretch where he was like bordering elite, like right below elite. You know what I mean? And now he's dropping back to like, damn, is Kirk Cousins better than you, bro?
Where when people would talk about him and the Falcons, they're like, no, he actually is elite. You guys just don't know that.
Right.
You're mistaken.
Well,
And now we're like, can we get rid of him, please?
I'm just sitting back here just smiling because this is stuff that I've seen for years.
Still, Micah, at the end of the day, your franchise quarterback is getting paid, so you can't fall back on that. Though we shouldn't have paid Matt.
It's just one of those things. The downside to paying that much for a guy, especially like it's the downside to overpaying a quarterback.
I'll say this. Oh, sorry, girl. I thought you were done.
Well, it's just because, and especially at a certain age, because you never know when they're going to hit a wall. And when you pay a early to mid 30s quarterback and give him a 5-year deal for, $30+ million a year, you never know if he's going to hit that wall halfway through the contract, and then you're stuck. It's one thing for like a Dak Prescott who was 26, or Pat Mahomes who's 25, but it's another thing for a quarterback in his early to mid 30s, and that's what we did.
I feel like if you would have made these points to your shows, you might have won some in that show. You might have won some of it.
Well, granted, I blanked out that entire episode.
You didn't have your whole notebook.
You got trumped by Lionel.
Yeah.
Essentially,
hey,
he
shut up.
Yeah, he overtalked me.
But at the end of the day, you're right. Like what you can say is you don't pay a quarterback who's not Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes.
That essentially was my point. Like the true elite quarterbacks, you can pay them, but the guys who are fringe, I mean, you wind up paying them, and there's a good chance you're going to wind up just losing money over the deal as opposed to really benefiting from it. Because I mean, Minnesota right now, they extended.
That was just stupid though.
They extended Kirk Cousins. Now Kirk Cousins hadn't looked terrible, but he's up. He's a roller coaster. He's up.
There was never a
point
point where Kirk Cousins deserved that money. There was never any deception or any kind of evidence to as to why they offered him.
Comparing that contract to Matt Ryan's contract is insulting to Matt Ryan.
Kirk Cousins has never had
Matt Ryan has an MVP and taken us to the Super Bowl, Mike.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins has never played for Kyle Shanahan either.
Matt Ryan had an MVP.
Wait,
season, MVP's number season 2 years after Shanahan.
Didn't he have a year? He had RG3. Didn't he have Kirk Cousins too?
No. Oh, yeah, he did, but Kirk Cousins wasn't the starter. Kirk Cousins wasn't the starter. RG3 was the starter.
Don't matter. He was there. He could have earned that job, Micah.
He did. He actually did play for Shanahan for half a season and played well. But Mike Shanahan got fired that next season. And
so Kirk Cousins got Mike Shanahan fired.
No. RG3 got Mike Shanahan fired.
All right. So I'll say this before we move on from this topic. I would much rather be in this situation than we are with Matt Ryan, albeit a sucky one because his contract is huge and it looks like he is declining. I'd rather be in this situation than be what the Jaguars have been for the past decade plus, constantly searching for a quarterback.
They went to an AFC championship though.
But never
They're
went
one
to a
bad call
Super
away from a
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
But I mean, Blake Bortles.
What a
Blake
catch
Bortles was
by
about to
Seager.
have a Flacco-like run. He is having one good playoff.
But I think we can all agree on that, though, that we would much rather be in this situation than be stuck in turmoil. So you'd rather be constantly going, I don't know what we're going to do. I hope we get a good quarterback.
I'd much rather have the cap flexibility.
Yeah, but you're thinking
me.
about cap flexibility with the idea that we're going to land someone to be a stable piece.
Well, here's the thing. I'd much rather try to build a guy or like just get a game manager than to pay this quarterback that you think is elite but isn't quite elite. Like pay him this astronomical number, and then when he doesn't live up to your expectations, then you're looking like a jackass because it's like, oh man, I gambled my whole career on this guy. So I mean,
again,
you're
betting on landing someone stable enough to hold down the quarterback job. And as you can see, once you get outside of the guys that have been there for a while, it's a constant turnover. Like you run into the Nick Foles, you run into the Gardner Minshews, you run into the
Nick Foles beats
the Tyrod
every
Taylors.
time he plays him.
Yeah, I mean, you get into that era or that area of quarterbacks. But so let's do a quick look ahead to the our game next week versus the Vikings, who we will play Kirk Cousins and the recently very hot Minnesota offense. You're going to look at Adam Thielen and now Justin Jefferson on the outside. And, of course, they're going to try and run the ball on us with Dalvin Cook as much as they possibly can.
Isn't Dalvin Cook hurt?
He's a little banged up, but he has not been ruled out for next week.
Which is often.
That's Dalvin Cook's career.
Yeah, that's
as a Florida State fan, I can
career.
tell you that is Dalvin Cook's career right there. He is going to constantly be on your injury report with a Q next to his name. But when he's healthy, man, he's one of the best in the game. So,
even that one dude they had in for him in the last game they played looked pretty good.
Madison?
Yeah, he's going to run all over us.
They constantly have good running backs up there.
Well,
and the Chargers. And
they have a coach who knows how to utilize that scheme as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, true. So we're either going to get to rub it in. Someone's going to get a chance to rub it in someone's face from this game because of the outlook on Kirk Cousins, and then also Micah's favorite offensive coordinator. And I just blanked on his name.
Gary Kubiak.
Yeah, Gary Kubiak is their offensive coordinator. So where do you guys? We're 0-5. There's not going to be a need to really do too much insight on this, but where do you think we're going to have the ability to attack? Where are we going to get attacked? And what's your prediction? And anybody can take it from there.
I'll just go first. I think it's ironic. I mean, it's maybe not ironic, but it's interesting that these two teams, the Vikings and the Falcons, are in very similar positions right now. Just in terms of but there's differences, right? Because the Vikings still have a good defense, but their offensive weapons it's bare. Their cupboard is bare, whereas our defensive cupboard is bare, and we still have offensive weapons. But we both have suspect quarterback play, and but I still think that they have a clear advantage just in terms of running the ball, and we cannot stop that at all. So I don't see us faring too well. You know what I mean? But Matt, I've never seen Matt play 3 straight bad games. So chances are maybe he'll put together a good stat line. You know what I mean? And maybe Julio won't be hurt.
I actually haven't seen him do this in 2 straight games before.
Right. I mean, I can't say I've never seen 2 straight bad games, but I definitely have never seen 3.
The noise The noise is bothering Ryan.
It's like chaos outside. It's kids just screaming at the top of their lungs at 9 p.m. I don't know what's going on.
I still can't hear it.
But yeah, my I actually disagree with you on the Vikings cupboard being bare. They have some weapons.
They have a lot of weapons, actually.
Justin Jefferson is emerging into exactly who they thought he was going to be. Still early, but he's been a beast lately, and Thielen's a very good receiver.
So why they so bad?
They still got Rudolph. They still got Rudolph, who doesn't, and then Irv Smith at tight end. They got some solid tight ends, which is actually one of our weaknesses. Their run game is their strength, though. Now, the ironic thing is, outside of the Panthers game, we've actually done a fairly decent job stopping the run. And I alluded to it Sunday. Part of our problem with stopping the run Sunday was we kept trying to strip the ball. The defense, it looked like they were trying so hard to force a turnover to get the ball back for the offense that, like, basically they're going for the ball and not the tackle. So Mike Smith, but Mike Davis. Yeah, Mike Davis is just dragging. He's just rolling. He's doing what Sweetness, the Walter Payton taught and said, just roll with it. When they try to strip you, just keep going with it. And he just kept going with it and dragging them forward for extra 4 or 5 yards at a time if they didn't fall off. And that's why he looked so great against us, because defense was trying to make a play because the offense couldn't. So I think if we just play fundamental, tackle, just wrap up, tackle, don't try to make the spectacular plays, just do your job, then especially on defense, I think we'll win, but I think we can do a decent job kind of holding their offense at bay. Offensively, though, their secondary is a mess. We should be able to carve them up, but it's all going to depend on Matt and how his arm feels and so on and so forth. I think Gurley should have a decent but the running back should have a decent game against them too, because their front seven isn't that great either. They have some good linebackers, but they've lost a lot of their big pieces on the D line. The one thing that does scare me, Danielle Hunter against McGarry, it does scare me a little
Danielle's
bit.
on IR.
Oh, he's on IR?
But they still have Yannick.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yannick Ngakoue against McGarry. It kind of scares me a little bit. But I think if we run the ball fairly well, you can kind of neutralize him a little bit. But other than that, I think we'll lose probably. But if defense plays a fundamentally sound game, it'll probably be something, 24 to 14 or something like that, because I don't really anticipate our offense putting up big numbers.
Yeah. I think we kind of agree on a lot of things there. I think areas that we're going to attack is definitely the run game. They've struggled there. I don't think we're going to pass well on them, because Mike Zimmer always has Matt Ryan and Julio Jones' number. And he is a masterful game planner when it comes to neutralizing Julio. Granted, he's had good corners in the past to do it. But Xavier Rhodes was never an elite corner. He was always really good when he was healthy, and then he just fell off a cliff. But it's constant harassment of Julio, constant having a zone, underneath him and over. And it's like a rolling double team is what he would do with Julio. Kind of similar to what a cover 6 does to a really good receiver. But I don't know why there are children outside of my porch just screaming right now. Yeah. I know Cruz was going over to play with kids at their house, but I guess they're all outside at 9:00 at night. This will be a fun part to edit out. So I think we will definitely try and run at them, and I think that's what we need to do for the rest of the season. Is we need to really see what Gurley is, because I'd like to bring him back, but it's just, will he be willing to come back to this team if it's rebuilding? Will he be willing to, stay and see what this team is going to become?
Will he be willing to not take an elite running back money?
Yeah, that's the problem. Will we be able to afford it?
Yeah,
because that brings up another concern I have with getting rid of Dimitrov. I mean, I know why you don't like him, but he was good at restructuring people, and whoever comes in now is not going to have that history with them, with the players, to be like, hey, look, it's that time again. We need you to take a cut. They're going to be like, who are you? You're brand new.
Well, that's why it's going to have to be hardball. There's going to be a lot of hardball stuff going on.
So I think on offense, though, I think they're going to fucking carve us up. I think Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen and, whatever combination of slot / tight ends they throw out there.
BC Johnson. And,
I mean,
the tight ends.
Whatever they do there, they're just going to eat. I don't know if we're going to really be able to get pressure on them, because they do a good job of moving Kirk around. They do a good job of getting the ball out quick. They do a really good job of taking advantage of mismatches. I don't know if y'all can see that.
I see kids shooting things.
Those are bugs.
Oh, those are bugs. So looks like a war outside your house.
It literally is.
I really can't hear anything though.
I mean, I can faintly hear it.
Yeah,
I think it'll be all right.
It's just distracting when you hear wah, 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 and you're trying to talk about something.
Is that all Cruz? I bet that's all Cruz.
I'm sure it is. What was I saying? Oh, the combination of slot receivers matched up on, whoever we have down in the slot, and taking advantage of their big, good blocking tight ends against our smaller secondary and smaller linebackers. So I have no doubt that they're going to put up 30 on us. It's just, are we going to be able to score 30 on them? We'll see. I know I said at the beginning of the season I don't think they're going to be a good team, but I think anyone that faces us at this point is going to be a good team.
Right. You don't have to be a good team to beat us.
Yeah. So I have little faith, especially for this matchup. And I was just looking through the next couple. I don't really have faith that we're going to, unless Ulbrich comes out and deploys the defense in a totally different way. And one thing I would like to see is I would like to see us blitzing Deion Jones more.
Yeah. Looking for something. Jeez.
Yeah, because I know he's a really good cover linebacker, but one of the things that made us so effective early on in his career is never knowing if he was going to drop back or if he was going to blitz. But stacking him over the center every time is a sheer, that's pretty. Every time I've seen him stacked over the center, he blitzes. So it's going to be an easy read and easy pickup for him. We need to diversify it. Anyway, I think we lose. I think we lose by at least 10 points. I think there's going to be a late pick that really seals the game for them.
Here's the offensive stats so far this season. We're actually dead even with our points per game at 26.5. They're at 200 passing yards a game. We're near 300. We're at 100 rushing yards. They're at 150 a game. We are winning time of possession by about 3 minutes. We run 70 plays to their 55, but they pick up 6.4 yards per play, where we're 5.6.
Well, they just went down to the wire with the team that made us look like a high school team in the Seattle Seahawks on
right, and
Thursday
they kept
night.
Russell at bay the whole first half.
Yeah,
But then he came out and scored 3 straight touchdowns at halftime.
Well, but that run game can keep them in some games though.
Mm-hmm.
And their defense isn't that much. They're 31 points per game, where we're 34.
As far as common opponents go right now, they perform better against the people that we've played against. So
yeah, they've had a tougher schedule so far.
For sure. So I think we take the L. Marco, you said you take the L.
Yeah.
Micah?
Yeah, I said we lose.
All right. So 0-6, here we come. Let's take a quick break. Let me go see what this chaos is.
Wait, quick question before we go on break. Falcons, since we're talking about the Falcons, who would be your ideal guy to take over the GM role? Because we talked about the head coach. Who would be your ideal guy to take over the GM role?
Anybody from the Baltimore Ravens coaching staff or GM staff. Anybody from there, or I don't want anybody from New England. That just doesn't work outside of New England. It just doesn't.
It's all Bill.
It's culture and Bill. You can't do that out of New England. So anyone from there or anyone from Kansas City, maybe.
Well, we do something crazy and get a player, someone like John Lynch, get a player.
That's turned out well for them. Bring in who would?
Yeah, but that's Shanahan too.
Yeah,
he knows the type of players he like. John Lynch knows the defensive players, and Shanahan knows the offensive players. Me personally, I actually wouldn't mind see if we can get Louis Riddick out the booth.
Was he that good in Washington though? I mean, there's a reason he got fired, right?
Well, I think he was decent. Hey,
Didn't win anything.
But I mean, it is Washington. You're going up against Dan Snyder, who's a domineering owner.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look more into Louis Riddick and see who he drafted while he was there, what their records were, what their caps were, to really judge on that. But I would like anybody from Baltimore just because that's just.
Well, yeah. That culture, that Ozzie Newsome has trained so many of those guys, and that culture is ridiculous.
He's not afraid to get big physical guys that aren't going to be stat patters, but do their job. And that's just guys we don't draft. We don't draft that here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to break. Take about 5-10 minutes, and we'll be back.
All right.
Some of them French fried taters. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back from the break, guys. I went and stuffed my face with a s'more and tried to investigate where all these childlike screams were coming from. And let alone there's like 6, 7 and below year olds out behind our house doing gymnastics at 9:00 at night.
Oh no.
Because
they have masks on.
It's the purge.
Mentor just gave up a 3-run homer.
Well, crap.
You fortune teller, future reader.
Right.
Haven't seen that yet.
So I think it was Monday. Was Monday Game 6 of the NBA Finals?
No, Sunday.
Sunday. So it was happening right when we were.
Yeah. I was about to. We got off before it started.
Okay. Yeah. So. Marco, that's your realm there.
It is time for the layup, aka the finger roll, aka jelly time, aka points in the paint. So as you just said, Sunday, I don't know. I don't think we were on to talk about Game 5, or were we? No.
No, Game 5 happened after,
or the 2 days before.
Okay, so we were talking about whether Jimmy Butler was a superstar or not, and and then that night he went off and had a 40-point triple double, and led his team to a game 6 where they promptly got dismantled. They were down by as much as 40 in that game, but got it back to a respectable 13, which actually ended up winning me some money because I picked the Lakers. The Lakers to win by 10-13, and Dwight Howard tried to mess it up with the 3 at the end, but then Solomon, or whatever his name is, Solomon Jones, came back and hit a charity 3. And so they promptly handled him in what to me was probably one of the least impressive finals wins in NBA history, especially considering that he struggled so much. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get into the LeBron assessment talk in a second. But yeah, I think it was pretty cool that the Miami Heat were able to put up such a good fight. And, and I'm happy for LeBron, getting his 4th chip. He's at a respectable 40% now on his win percentage in the NBA finals. So he played great. We had talked earlier about who do we think was going to get the MVP. Anthony Davis obviously didn't show up for a couple of those games where they lost, especially in that last one where it was literally just LeBron by himself trying to make sure they closed out game 5 and no one else wanted to show up until the end. And then, but knowing that at the end, he still decided to kick it to Danny Green, who promptly clanked it. And that led to the game 6 massacre. But yeah, so the Lakers, were impressive. They dominated the bubble. Unfortunately they didn't get to play the Clippers, but LeBron's your MVP. And now he's firmly at the top as the number 1 player in the league again. So, Micah, give me your take on just the bubble and the finals and your new 2020 champion.
It is what it is. It's not unpredictable. I figured either the Lakers or the Clippers were probably gonna win. But I figured they'd play each other in the Western Conference Finals to see who would win. But unfortunately, playoff P didn't show up. So no. But the bubble as a whole, it was a mixed bag. It was fun to watch at times, but also it was tragedy to watch, i.e. that game 7 in Oklahoma City and Houston in the second half, or fourth quarter more specifically, where it was just like nobody wanted to make a play to win that game. Oh man, Lou Dort made one of the worst plays I've ever seen in my life in basketball history, and I almost got bailed out for it. But yeah, it was interesting to say the least. But it was a mixed bag. It was some good, it was some terrible, some bad, it was some real ugly basketball. The one thing I actually would have liked to see, as inspired as the Suns played in the bubble, in the 8 games in the bubble, I would have loved to see them make the playoffs and seeing if they could have upset somebody, because they were
not those Lakers. They weren't going to upset. They weren't going.
I don't think they would have beat the Lakers in a series, but if say they had got the 7th seed, could they have potentially beat who was the 2? Was the Clippers the 2 seed?
Yeah.
Yeah, could they have beaten?
No. Denver was the 2 seed.
Oh, Denver, yeah.
Were they? Lakers or Clippers are 3?
Yeah. Maybe they could have beaten Denver in the first round.
Probably not.
Possibly though. Like I said, nobody played better basketball than them in that regular season stretch.
That's true, but in a lot of those games, if you just go back and look at it, a lot of the times the teams that were playing were resting, and which I won't take away anything from them, but there's a little context. There's a reason the Suns didn't make the playoffs.
Well, the real regular season is the reason they didn't make the playoffs. But
wait. Before we go to Ryan, I'm not going to let you get away with not congratulating LeBron because you talked about everything but LeBron.
Well, I was actually getting around to that. I just hadn't gotten to that whole thing. LeBron won his fourth. Congrats. You know, I don't hate LeBron, but it's one of those things, like I said.
No one asked you if you hated LeBron.
But no, but that's the insinuation that you made when you said you didn't thank LeBron. It's like I'm taking a shot at LeBron. So no, I don't hate LeBron. But like I said, it was just one of those things. And I hated that Jimmy Butler, this might have been his legitimate only shot to win a title and to come up short, especially the way they did. It was kind of a bummer. But other than that, congrats to the Lakers. Some of those guys on that team didn't deserve it though. You know, but
Q Cook,
huh?
Q Cook, who got left behind.
Quinn Cook. There's always a few guys on the roster who just like, yeah, I'm celebrating. I got me a ring, bruh. You got 2 minutes of play time.
He was like, people thought I couldn't make it. They thought I was washed up, that I wouldn't win another chip. It's like, did you?
You were there.
Oh man.
Right. What's your take on all
So
this?
I'm gonna recap Micah's LeBron segment real quick. If any of y'all have seen the Chappelle show, the player haters ball. I hate you. I don't even know you. I hate you. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and only you.
That's not the case with me and LeBron.
So what was it you said? Recap the finals. Talk about
What's
LeBron.
your opinion on? I mean, first, just the fact that LeBron's the champ, and then just bubble perspective.
I mean, it's cool, man. I appreciate. I like to appreciate the greatness while it's here, because you know I may never see a player like LeBron again. The chances are maybe, but we could enter in a 10, 20, 30-year stretch in the NBA where it's competitive, which would be cool to watch too. But it's really, really awesome to watch greatness while it happens. I think he gets far too much hate for his losses in the NBA because he's good enough, or he's great enough to carry bad teams to finals. And he gets blamed for losing against,
he carried 2 bad teams to
he
finals.
did. So I mean, but still, that's 2 bad teams that he carried. He carried to the finals.
That's true.
He just, he also had some bad luck against, an extremely talented and really hot Mavericks team, and then he ran into the fucking Spurs dynasty. Then he ran into the fucking Golden State Warriors dynasty. And he's had his really good teams too.
He ran into a Jason Terry who said LeBron can't guard me.
That team was so good defensively though, and Dirk Nowitzki was just fucking playing out of his mind.
Well,
but
I just remember never seeing Jason Terry play that good of basketball in his life.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he did.
He
And
played
that
out of
team
this
was
world,
packed with all stars.
Freeman just got hit on his elbow.
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's the elbow that had the Spurs in it too. That's not good. All right, so yeah, I mean, it's
like
cool.
on the inner elbow though, so it's not like directly on the elbow. It should be.
Still, we can't afford him to miss any games.
Goddamn, fuck the Dodgers, man.
I know, fucking throwing all our best players. So yeah, that's cool to watch LeBron in that time. I actually really enjoyed these finals. People are like, oh, it wasn't that competitive, but it was. There were tons of lead changes in all the games. There were runs by both teams. Great defense by both teams, and it was in an environment that no one's ever played in before, and it's such a hard environment to play in. 1, no fans. 2, you're away from your family, you're away from your comforts, and people are, and especially athletes, are creatures of habit and creatures of comfort.
That's Paul George.
Yeah. So I don't, I think these playoffs in this environment showed who the stronger teams were.
True.
Some of the more talented teams that didn't really have the structure and the teamwork and the chemistry there, fizzled out and didn't really do much. A la the Clippers. Whenever you watch Kawhi teams, you don't see like a team. You see people playing with Kawhi, and Kawhi's just doing what he does, and he's good enough to fucking carry people. But you don't look. I've never viewed Kawhi as a good teammate. But that's just what he portrays, and I could be dead wrong. But
I don't know about teammate. I'd say not a good leader.
Yeah, certainly not a good leader. But I think being a leader, especially as the best player on your team, is also part of being a good teammate.
For sure.
But let me not get too off track. But yeah, I mean, I think the Heat showed that they had a very good core, a very good leader. They had a very good, just a dynamic to their team. So I don't think they were one of the weaker, finals opponents ever. They were a really good team. They beat some really good teams in the East that easily could have, gone in this. Say if the Celtics would have made it, people wouldn't have been like, "Oh, this is a weak finals," because it'd have been the historic Celtics versus, But they beat them. They beat that team. They beat the Raptors. Well, no,
the Bucks.
The Bucks.
The best team in the NBA.
Yeah, they beat the team with the best record. So I don't like that because it also it's an attempt to cheapen LeBron's ring as well. So
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But so before we move on to that, I want to and I do agree with you. I think that it's crazy to say that this wasn't competitive. I think this was probably one of the most competitive, despite the fact that the Lakers 4-1'd 3 people with timeout.
Le'Veon Bell just got released by the Jets.
Wow. Was that like something he requested?
I mean, he didn't want to play anymore.
Okay.
So they just released him outright. So they ate that cap hit.
Pittsburgh should pick him up again.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
They're not. They're too
so what? Or the Raiders?
Yep.
You think he should just finish?
He should go to the
Patriots.
I'm just
saying Pittsburgh wouldn't. They just have too much depth at running back.
Yeah, that's true. Like the Raiders or
the Patriots.
Patriots. Yeah, they're missing Sony. The Patriots probably be the best.
Le'Veon and Cam in the backfield.
Oh my God.
The Houston Texans.
Yeah,
that's a likely spot.
Yeah, I mean they need him, but yucky. Watch them go like make the playoffs still after starting 0-5 like this. We're 1-4 now. So we had a discussion last week, sort of before we get into LeBron talk. I want to just talk about Jimmy, and like you were saying, I think it's crazy to say this wasn't competitive because it went 6 games. I mean, the finals went 6 games, so we can't take anything away from the Heat. Right. Now, whether we can take something away from the Lakers, that's a different story. But so Jimmy Butler, we were talking about whether he was a superstar or not. Me and Micah both said no, not quite yet. Ryan was firmly on the yes, he is.
On the bottom end of the superstar rank.
Bottom end. So and like I said, I still have him above Giannis, but not yet Kawhi. He was able to win 2 games in the finals, pretty much by himself. So will Jimmy Butler ever get back to the finals? And was this their best chance, Ryan?
Will Jimmy Butler ever get back to the finals? I want to say, yeah, he might make it one more time.
Will the Heat, like we can say, put them separately, Heat and Jimmy Butler. Like you can sort of perceive both.
I mean, it depends on what happens in this offseason, because the Heat are rumored to be one of the top contenders for Giannis as well. So if they get him, then their odds jump through the roof.
They have to wait a whole year though.
No,
he could opt out.
You have to be a trade.
Is that what it is? I know he has the option to leave this year. Well, are you sure? Because they were talking about.
I'm positive.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, it depends, and they're one of those teams that always make good moves. They don't always make the big splashes in free agency, but because of Riley, because of Spoelstra, they know the type of players they want, and they know how they're going to fit in their team and their culture. So Yeah, I'll give him one more. Maybe not next year. I think next year you're going
One
to
more finals appearance, you're saying, within the next 5 years or so?
within the Jimmy Butler Heat might see one more finals appearance before he's done. So that may be next, 2 years. It may be next year. Who knows? But yeah, I'll give him one more.
And you still think he's a superstar, right?
Yeah, I don't think that one game there at the end where he was literally exhausted. I mean, we all saw him walk off the podium after game 5 where he could barely walk. And the man left everything on the court, and he'd been doing it for the last 2 months, and just game in, game out. And there's no rest in between. There's limited rest in between. You don't have the same type of rehab that you do outside of there where you have these facilities, because it's still a Disney World resort. They don't have everything there. I don't know if you saw the way players were taking ice baths in these little tubs outside. So
like
it's
hotel tubs or something.
yeah,
Giant,
it's not the
tiny
same.
tub.
So
yeah, one day anybody who plays ball knows the way Jimmy was walking. That takes like a week or two to get. To
yeah, that's rough. And I mean, they played a lot of games, and they weren't always in like game 7s. Like who was it that they kept going?
The
to
Nuggets.
Game 7s? Yeah, the Nuggets kept going to game 7 and game 7 and game 7. But they played a lot of games. So,
Micah.
First of all, I think if they do re-sign Jimmy next year, which I think they want to, and I think he might want to go back, I say no. I still say no. I think this was the best opportunity they had to win something, and I think Boston's going to come back stronger. They're going to retool a couple pieces. Philly, I think they're on the decline. Yeah. Milwaukee's going to try and make some moves to come back strong. Toronto's going to try and make some moves this offseason. So I think they could potentially be like the 01 Nets, where they wind up making it to a finals, and but ultimately that was the only real year that they
Nets went 2 years in a row.
Huh?
Nets went 2 years in a row.
Did they?
Yeah. They lost both times, but they went 2 years in a row.
They
lost decisively both times.
But like the Sixers with Iverson, where they went that 1 year and then like everything worked perfectly, and they went that 1 year and then just never got back. I think they'll be good, but I think some of the other teams in the East are going to retool and are going to be better, and so I also believe my Hawks are going to be somewhere around there in that running, at least in the playoffs.
In the 8th, we're talking about 8-7, not like.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. But no. But really though, I still think Jimmy is a perennial all-star, like one of the elite all-stars, but I don't put him in that superstar category yet. It's like I said, that game 7, game 6, to me, a lot of the superstars in those moments when they're exhausted, they still find to muster up enough energy to keep their team going. And it was just like he was just, and I get it, I understand, but that's the part of the reason I wouldn't put it, because he just doesn't have that sheer physical, like he's not just a sheer physical specimen like some of these, like LeBron. LeBron is a freak of nature. Dude rolls over it out of the bed and like he not work out all year and still be more athletic than everybody else in the league. So Jimmy's not that kind of guy. So it's harder for him to do things like give that kind of effort in game 5 and then come back in game 6 and put up a comparable performance.
Well, not just his physical ability, it's also his skill set. He just doesn't have the polished offensive skill set that some of these superstar scorers have. Like his 3-point shot, that thing is ugly.
I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he's just not he's not a freak of nature physically. He's the self-made. I built myself from the bottom. Now I'm up at this level. Now it just doesn't come to him easily. So he like even learning even the skills on the court, his working on his offensive game, it just naturally doesn't come to him like some of these guys.
Right. He is MJ's son after all. I'm just playing. But yeah, so I personally do think the Heat are done. You know, I'm big on the whole like NBA and its narratives, and I really just think they made it there to you know, for LeBron to win against his old team, and I think that was it. Not to take anything away from them, they did a very good job, but you know, the NBA is all about storylines, and barring them getting like Blake Griffin or like you said, Giannis in a year or so, I just don't see them, especially with Brooklyn coming up. You know, Boston's probably going to go get a big, which is all they needed. You know what I mean? They just were not a complete enough team to make it to the finals. Like they just did not have a big. Their biggest player is 6'8". You know, and Robert Williams is nice, but he's a 6'8" dude. You can't put him at center. And Tice is 6'8" as well. He just, you know, they just got to get
Robert
a big.
Williams is like 6'11".
They list him at 6'8".
Really? The one from Texas A&M or Texas Tech, whatever.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, listen.
Well, you know, this year, this is the year they had to put the official heights in as opposed to
he is
the embellished heights. Yeah.
I mean, he looks 6'8" on the court. I mean,
yeah, they can't put that embellished height on there like what was the dude from Kentucky that's on the Kings now?
Oh, you talking about
no, that's Duke. From Kentucky on the Kings?
No, it's from Duke. I think he's from Duke. Never mind.
You talking about the big guy,
Bagley? Yeah, Bagley went from like 6'11" to like 6'8" in the program.
It's his afro that made him 6'11".
Yeah, wow. In college, Robert Williams was listed at 6'11".
Jesus, they're just trying to scare their opponents.
He's
huge.
He's big. Don't get me wrong, but when you see him on the court next to like actual, you know, bigs, he doesn't look big. But he plays like one. He got the dog in him. He'll get the rebounds. He blocks shots. He does all the stuff you need. But still at 6'8",
kind of like Ben Wallace basically.
Yeah, but you just need a you know, for them to be more complete, they just need a big like a real big to really clean up the boards. But yeah, I just don't think the Heat, barring Tyler Hero become like a 25 and 6 guy, which I just don't see happening next year. It's going to be tough for them to get back to this spot ever. And I think maybe Jimmy might get back to the finals on another team. But this Heat team is not going back to the finals. So the next thing, as we wrap up this segment, sort of, I just want to talk about LeBron and Ryan. What was it that Nick Wright was saying? The argument. So we're basically talking about his legacy. It says right here, has he cemented his legacy? So two questions. What do you mean in terms of has he cemented his legacy? Do you mean just like, is his career over? Like, what do you mean?
No. So,
or as the greatest, or what?
No, I mean, a lot of people, you know, the number one thing that people say is against LeBron is, oh, he's a loser. You know, he's a stats guy, and when he gets to the finals, he loses, and everyone's like, oh, 3-6. Like you said at the beginning of this, it brings him to 40%. I think he'll get one more at least. He'd be lucky to get two more, but at least one more before he retires.
He'd be lucky to get one more. Let's be honest.
No, he's still. I mean, you saw what he still did, and that team's still good.
I mean, that team struggled against Jimmy Butler.
It's not a bad team. I don't know why you're trying to dog
it. It was just Jimmy Butler.
That team is old though.
Yeah,
that is an older team overall.
But it was just Lakers. Jimmy Butler. He struggled against Jimmy Butler by himself.
Bam
was hurt. Bam was half a man for both the games. The one game they won, he wasn't there, and the other one he sucked. He was barely even playing well. It was just Jimmy Butler. Hero making guest appearances. Duncan Robinson did go off for like 26 in that one game. But I'm just saying, like, in terms of like the stars, like when we look back in history and be like, who was he playing on this team? It was Jimmy Butler. It's just AD and LeBron versus Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy took him 6. So I think legacy wise, this does more for him. But let me go ahead and let you keep going.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just it saves a little bit of that whole, like, he was at 25% winning percentage in the finals and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It helps with that.
So yeah, what did Nick Wright say?
So Nick Wright was talking because they got on Fox Sports and they were doing what the media does and talking about, does this now make LeBron the greatest of all time and all this type of stuff. And Nick Wright took the approach of, I'm not gonna, because he said he took the high road when it comes to LeBron, and he spoke about his accolades then more so than it did talking about it, which is true, Micah. If you go back and watch his tape, he doesn't do that. No, it's not your turn to talk. Not your turn.
All right, okay. All right, Trump.
He was talking about the parts of Michael Jordan's career that a lot of people gloss over when it comes to talking about how great he is. Because the one thing you always hear about LeBron or MJ is he's 6-0 in the finals. He won all these finals MVPs, which is true. He did. But he said before Pippen got there, he had a losing record in every season. He was 0 for his career against Larry Bird. What was it?
Over in the career in the playoffs.
Yeah. Never beat Larry Bird in the playoffs. He was against winning teams in the playoffs, or like with like a superstar on their team. He was 2-6 against them.
We're talking all before Scotty, right?
No, this was even with Scotty too at this point now. And then when he ran into the one good team in the East, because at that period of time, the East was in shambles. And then the one time he did run into a good team in the East, this was when I'm talking about with Scotty. When Scotty came along, it was in shambles. He was 2-6 against good teams and 23-1 against the bad teams in the playoffs. Got ran through by the Magic that one time.
Then he came back and beat him the next year.
Yeah. And then he said a lot. And then he was like, people always talk about how I'm assuming Ozzy just went deep or something. People always talk about, all his defensive things, but that was outside of this. It was a long bit. It was like 4 minutes. And I'm sure Michael will bring up some of it, but it was more so like just talking about how the things that the media likes to gloss over with MJ, and just essentially clump all of his things, all of his accolades into this one area where he was like the greatest of all time. And then they listed like all the players that won championships in MJ's time. And he was like, well, look, look at all the times that LeBron, whatever division he was in, he locked down that side of it and no one even sniffed it, but he showed all the people in MJ's
did he catch the home run again?
Yeah.
They just need to, anytime Ozzy's up, they need to put Melanson in the bullpen.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, okay. All right. So my thing was, my problem with it is, first of all, he said he took the high road. He always took the high road. No, it's legitimately been a campaign to smear any and everything in Jordan's career that he can and poke holes in it so you can like basically bring him down so you can boost LeBron up. And that's always been, that's like, all right. So I made a list of a few of the faults in his logic. So he talked about how weak the East was, and he compared that to his example was, he only played that he was the only team that had 2 Hall of Famers on their roster. But what's the like, how can you say like Hall of Famers? Because it doesn't matter how many Hall of Famers you have on your team. A team who has 3 or 4 all-stars and good chemistry can be better than a team with multiple Hall of Famers.
Right, because Hall of Famers is a career thing as opposed to in the moment. The context is the season, not.
Why did y'all just fault the Heat?
Hey. He's
What you talking
talking.
about?
No. Y'all just both said, "Oh, the Heat were a weak opponent."
I didn't say the Heat were a weak opponent.
I did.
I just said I wish the Heat would have won. But like I said, I said you're basing the competition purely off the numbers of a Hall of Famer, even though there are plenty of guys who have great numbers, are consistent, double guys, but never came close to Hall of Fame status. So it's like look at what's the name? John Stark was a monster at shooting guard. Great defensively, could score. He wasn't a 25 and 8 guy, but he was a very good shooting guard alongside a very good center. I think Ewan made the Hall of Fame. Pretty sure he did. Yes. But that Indiana team, you had Reggie, you had Rick Smith was a very good center. You had Mark Jackson was a very good point guard. There was some very talented teams. There were some deep teams in the East when in Jordan's heyday. They just didn't have the superstar power because there weren't as many super teams. Now there were some super teams in the finals he faced.
In the 80s, there were super teams though.
Phoenix tried to put together a super team to beat them in the finals when Charles Barkley went to Phoenix or got traded to Phoenix. There were a couple, Houston tried to do it, but for the most part, all right. So the argument against what's the name? Larry Bird. So you were criticizing him for losing to a team who was once one of the arguably the best assembled roster in the history of the NBA. And you know, like the sad thing is majority of us can't even acknowledge who was Jordan's number two in number two. It was Orlando Woolridge, by the way, which I had to look up because nobody knew. He's not a household name. Not to mention, he was so good in that finals, in that playoff series, trying to carry them after breaking his foot. He made them relevant. They were a bad team. They were going to miss the playoffs. He played well enough in the 14 minutes he was given by the owner. He was restricted to 14 minutes a game. He played well enough to get them into the playoffs in the 8 games he played. But that's being held against him. 3. All right. So this idea, he wasn't until he got Pippen. It wasn't until Pippen developed, because they drafted Pippen, and it took 3 years for Pippen to actually be a productive player before
he developed Pippen.
They started to win. And not to mention, it's not like, some of the teams, a lot of the teams that LeBron has won with, they're all vets. There's a bunch of vets who are very, very talented and they know their role. He prefers vets over rookies, versus they built Pippen from the ground up between him and Phil. Not to mention, Phil was a bigger. They love to give credit to Pippen.
Top 5 pick, Scottie Pippen, was built like he was a bum coming in.
He sort of was though until
he was a top 5 pick.
But that doesn't
matter.
That didn't mean anything in the 80s.
Yeah, he legitimately was struggled.
Do you see his stats, Ryan? I mean, you're laughing here, but do you see his stats?
What, his rookie stats were the only one where he averaged?
Bad for his first 3 years. It took him a while to become.
No, he was not bad for his first 3 years. Don't tell that
90, lie. That 89-90 season was his third season, and that's when he started to turn around. And he missed Game 7 of that Eastern Conference Finals against Detroit, and they wound up losing by a point or so. They wound up losing late in the game without because he didn't play. The next year he plays, he's healthy, and then boom, then you see exactly what they thought they got in Scottie Pippen.
So you're saying full-time starter till his third year.
His second year he started 56 games, and then there's
full-time starter.
But
okay,
but he wasn't the almost close to double-double lockdown defender. He could play defense because he was long, but he didn't reach the expectation that Krause had for him, because Krause saw how great of a ball handler he was, how athletic he was, and had these high expectations for him. He didn't hit that till his third year.
That's
So
what
it
most NBA players do, though.
Not Jordan. Jordan came out the gate running.
Yeah,
Jordan's one of a kind.
we're talking about the greatest of all time, though.
But that's my thing. It's this holding it against him, like Pippen immediately stepped in and made him into the contender that they were. And it was like, no, Pippen had to be built. He wasn't like Jordan. It was like they put the system in that fit both of them. And then next thing they took it to the next level. You had to get Phil there. And that's really Phil was the one who took it to the next level, because he put in a system that utilized guys other than Jordan.
How many more things you got on your list there?
Huh?
How many more things you got on your list there?
That was really most of my list. But it's my thing is this idea. It's slippery slope. So you attack Jordan on one thing, but you praise LeBron in that same aspect, even though it's something like you talk about, oh, well, don't just look at the championships. Well, but you can look at LeBron and say he's lost more than he's won, but you don't want to do that. You just want to look at everything else negative that you could potentially say about Jordan, but you don't want to look at the things negative you can potentially say about LeBron.
I think it's an A to A comparison on look at LeBron when he was by himself, what he did on his teams versus what Michael Jordan did by himself on his teams.
Yeah, LeBron missed the playoffs twice. He missed the playoffs 3 times. Jordan only missed it once.
And LeBron also basically quit on teams.
Who?
But hey, let me respond. Can I respond?
Yeah,
both y'all have had your chances. All right, so this is what I'm gonna say about all this. So I think it's completely fair to compare stats of people. You know what I mean? It's completely fair to compare Michael Jordan and LeBron James and their failures and their victories in order to try to surmise who is the better player. But to me, this is all just media stuff and recency things, because in reality, the ship has sailed a long time ago to compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan. It's just not. Those two, they're very different players. And that game 5 was a great example of why LeBron is 4-10 in the finals and Jordan was 6 for 6. Like
4 and 6. Not 4.
Yeah,
he's not 4 in.
Oh,
4
in 10. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The thing is that so LeBron in those situations right there, where LeBron can close the game and he just passes it, you know what I mean? When he has the skill sets to hit that shot, we've seen LeBron hit that shot before, but his instinct is, let me just try to drive and make something happen. You know what I mean? Whereas so to me, the difference between LeBron and Jordan, the main difference is LeBron elevates. To be great, LeBron has to have his whole team show up. Whereas Michael Jordan needs that too, but at the end of the day, he is the sole reason a lot of times that team is going to win, like that he's going to close these players out. But at the end of the day, my whole point is that LeBron James and Michael Jordan are not in the same discussion anymore. It's not. LeBron James has no chance to ever be greater or have a greater story or a greater legacy than the one that Michael Jordan have. Even his whole thing about where they're trying to say, oh, he took 3 different teams to the championship. You could use that against him. You could say he never played with the same teammates twice to get to the final. That's almost a knock. Like, you just had to keep going different places and building teams. Is that a good thing? Like, I don't understand. It's like, I feel like a lot of the same things that people praise LeBron for, you can also, sort of dock points for it. Cause it's like, he pretty much builds a team everywhere he goes. And so I don't know. And he plays with a lot of all-stars, just like you say, Michael Jordan might not have played as many Hall of Famers, but that's because teams in the 90s were not stacked up like that. You know what I mean? So that's also a context thing. You know what I mean? Team stars were more spread out, where LeBron created the whole thing about players coming together the way he did. He's revolutionized the game where players,
He didn't start it.
No, he did start. Boston was on their last leg, but LeBron was the first player who liberated players
in their prime.
Like LeBron's the first player who was like, as a player, I'm going to decide what my fate is. He's the first player to really do that. Like, you know what I mean? Those were trades. Like Boston got put together with trades. So,
and their youngest star was 34 at the time when they came together.
Right. So, I mean, there's a lot of those factors. And I just think first it's context. And second of all, it's just not, it's media talk when you start trying to discredit things Jordan did to build up LeBron James, because it just doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, Jordan is one of the best sports stories ever told. You know what I mean? LeBron, I mean, yeah, he has a good story. He's a great player. He has an incredible resume, but it's not 6 for 6 in the finals. It's never going to be. Right now, you can put him, okay, he's clearly better than Larry Bird or Magic Johnson, but him and Kobe have very comparable careers right now. Like, you know what I mean? Shaq and Kobe together was just as that's just as much talent as the teams LeBron had. So if you want to take away from Kobe from winning with Shaq, you got to take away from LeBron from winning with all the talent he had. And at the same time, Kobe, won with less, those 2 championships that he had. So, I mean, at this point, it's really LeBron and Kobe. It's never going to be Michael Jordan. That ship sailed a long time ago. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that.
Only thing I'm just gonna say, my frustration though is this this trying to like push this comparison. I mean, to me, granted, I mean nobody's gonna change my opinion. I believe Jordan's the greatest of all time, and LeBron is number 2. But I mean, it's like, I just get tired of like, bro, stop trying to knock one man down to build another man up. It's just let it be what it be. Let their resume speak for itself. If you believe LeBron's greater, all right, whatever, go ahead. But if you believe Jordan's greater, then cool. But it's this constant, oh yeah, well he didn't do this, he didn't do that, and it's
he didn't have to play in the bubble.
I just get tired of it.
We need to stop having grown men out here trying to defend LeBron James. Like, if you ain't never won a rec league championship, I don't need you to come out here and talk about how LeBron's championship ain't worth. Like, just shut up, man. LeBron is really rich and has accomplished more than anybody else other than like Jordan and Kobe. So it's like, let them, like, no amount of hate can knock that man off his pedestal. So if people want to hate, who cares? But LeBron definitely doesn't need Steven Jackson coming out and standing up for him. You know what I mean? Get off his dick. All right. That pretty much wraps up the NBA segment. I know that went on long.
Cool. Oh, you're expecting me to pick this up?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit of college football before we move on to our America's pastime here. So this past weekend we saw some pretty good games, pretty good matchups that we previewed last week. Let's actually talk about ours first before we go into UGA, because ours are going to be pretty short, Micah or Marco.
Go ahead.
Your Miami Hurricanes saw what they were actually made of this season as they went to Clemson, correct?
Yeah, they were in Death Valley.
Went to Death Valley and matched up against Dabo and Trevor Lawrence. What did you see, and how'd that turn out for y'all?
Holy moly, that was a catastrophe. Our defense, I'll give it credit. Our defense is still very good. But De'Eric, man, oh my God, they were locking him down, man. He could only get first downs by running. That was it. He could not complete any passes. They were also letting Clemson get away with a lot of real aggressive coverage. A lot of like pushing and, a lot of stuff they probably should have flagged. And then at the same time, they were flagging us every other play, which, probably was deserved. Yeah, man, it wasn't much of a competition. Trevor Lawrence was picking us apart. Everything was open. Like, he was looking like Tom Brady out there, just surgically taking us apart. And I think we'll still, fare very well against the rest of this ACC schedule, especially in the coming Pittsburgh, Virginia.
Do y'all play Notre Dame?
I don't think so. I'm not sure if we play North Carolina either. But yeah, I don't really fear anyone else in the ACC, but gosh darn, Clemson.
You better fear Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech. Oh man, they took down Louisville.
They're so hot and cold.
Yeah, they're so hot and cold, but at least they have, a competent looking offense now. But yeah, I still think we just don't have any chance to beat that Clemson team. If we match up again in like the ACC championship,
so stacked,
it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
They're so stacked. Dabo is so good at getting these guys who are 2 and 3 stars that people overlook and just turning them into beasts.
It's just sad watching, really. If you like a team that they're playing, it's sad.
Oh wow, he just hit that into a dead spot right there.
Mookie.
Yeah, Mookie was on his horse. Now, Brent Venables, the Clemson D coordinator, is one guy that I always would love. Like, I would love for him to come to the Falcons just because he's so creative and so aggressive on defense.
And did Mookie just score
from first? Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, if you look, he hit a shot down the first baseline and it just hit the fence and died. But yeah, Venables is the master of just taking your offense and making it look pedestrian. He's kind of like Belichick in that way, where he will take away what you're best at, dead it, and be like, hey, let's see what you can do now. And he's so aggressive with his blitzes, and they're so exotic. They come from all over the place. They look different every time, and they're just he is. I would love for him to come to Atlanta. I would love for Arthur to be like, hey, look, what will it take, Brent? Like, how much is it going to take for you to come here? But the reason I asked if you guys played Notre Dame is because Florida State and my Seminoles went to I just forgot, not Gary. South Bend. Yeah, South Bend, Indiana. And matched up against the Fighting Irish. And we looked pretty good for a little while. We certainly look a lot better with Travis at quarterback. The offense looks a lot better. The defense still looks uninspired and lost most of the time, which is crazy for as much talent as we have on that defense. But I will say one thing, that Notre Dame offensive line is probably the best offensive line in all of college football. They are so good, and they have exactly what you want out of an offensive line. Talented guys that stay together for 4 years. And they have so much continuity on that line and so much consistency, and they all know what each other's doing. So, I mean, we stood no chance against that. Once they started to wear us down, it was just game over, and they just ran consistently on us. I think they ran for like 398 yards on us. Yeah, it was brutal. And I mean, we have a very good front seven, but it's just not a deep front seven. But they just.
So what do you like more about your the quarterback that they've brought out though?
Travis?
Yeah,
he makes decisions, and he follows through with that decision, whether it's a good one or not. Instead of like Blackman, who will sit in the pocket and pat the ball and pat the ball and pat the ball, and then try and take off, and then try and throw it after he's taken off, and it's just he'll get out there and he'll see what he wants to do and he'll do it. And the fact that he runs a 4-3 at quarterback, that just opens up the run game.
How long has Blackman been there?
This is his 4th year.
Oh, so he's been there.
Red shirt.
He's been there through 3 regimes.
Yeah, he's been there. He was a Jimbo guy.
Yeah.
So that's hell.
Yeah, but he's never developed into anything. He was so bad. When he first came in against Alabama, when Francois went down that year, it was like, okay, he's young, and then it just never got any better. But yeah, Travis opens up the run pass option, the triple options, and all that, and the boots are just crazy. If he has an alley, he'll take off and he'll go. But yeah, it's nice to see the offense open up and see what Norvell has in his scheme. Terry, Scary Terry out there for us is a beast at wide receiver. I would love to draft him for the Falcons to have him replace, but to replace Julio or to tutor under Julio, because he's 6'6". He's essentially the same build as Julio. Ooh, that is a moonshot, and guess what? It's a 2-run game.
It's a save opportunity now.
Yeah, Lance was like, "Here we go. Come on, Tomlin." But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long rebuild. It'll probably be 5 or 6 years before we're even truly competitive again.
You said 5 or 6?
Mm-hmm. Because they, for what Jimbo left us in, and then going from what Jimbo had, trying to go into a spread air raid offense under Taggart, and then change to Norvell, more of a pro style offense. There's so much disconnect from the type of players they have and what they want, and then it's going to have to be slowly winning, recruiting back in Florida. But now with you guys back on it and Florida playing well, it's going to be hard. So, it's a constant ebb and flow in Florida. Like, which teams win recruiting are the better teams, and then you slowly see it start to push back over, and then it'll go back and forth. It's just
It was just Florida State for such a long time that it was.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo was just a masterful recruiter. He was an excellent recruiter. Every single year we were top 3. So now it's going to be trying to win with the type of guys that other people didn't want and finding those gems that do well.
Coach them up.
Yep. But yeah, that leads us to the hometown boys and UGA. Micah,
I'm not from Athens.
Micah, you guys played your second SEC game this week and played Tennessee in Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
No. I think we're in the Hedges.
The Hedges? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's hear your breakdown of that game.
So first half was rough. It was really well. Here's the thing. Defensively, they played well for the most part. Stuffed the run. They could not do anything on the run. Offensively, we got off to a slow start though. But really, and I think all 21 of Tennessee's points came on big passing plays pretty much. They just bombed. They threw it over the top. Was it Gartano or however you pronounce his name? He threw some beautiful deep balls in the first half, and that put us down with 21-17 at half. And right before the half, we go down, get inside the one, and get stuffed twice as time expired. So yeah, that was rough at halftime. But the second half, they turned it on. Defense stepped up even more, forced some turnovers. Tennessee turned the ball over for the first time this season in that game. We forced 2 turnovers. Offense played well. Stetson Bennett looked good again, and Zeus looked good. So yeah, it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I told you that stat before we started it. The UGA defense has allowed, versus its last 2 SEC opponents, 38 rushing yards on 49 attempts, less than a yard per attempt. That's how championships are won right there. Those type of defenses, especially with your offense looking good.
So as we're looking ahead to Bama, like, can you give us some insight, Mike, on to why is it that Georgia starts so slow in all these games? Because I think all 3 of the games they played so far, that looked like they were evenly matched in the first half, and then they just put on the horses.
Yeah, I think it's more so the style of play. Now, granted, I think Kirby he wants to open up the offense a little more. He wants to throw the ball a little more. Especially he feels like we have reliable receivers, some reliable receivers and stuff, some backs who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think Stetson Bennett has a much better arm than Jake Fromm. So I think he wants to throw the ball more. But I think ultimately the thing is we still want to establish the run. Time of possession, establish the run, pound, wear down the defense. And then typically, I mean, from what it's looked like so far this year, yeah, you start off slow, pounding the rock, but in the second half, after pounding the rock a lot, you start to wear down the defense, and then you start to see big plays open up. Now, what we need some of those runs to turn into big runs, because I heard the stat last Saturday that since that season with Chubb and Sony Michel, we have had one 50-plus yard run in the past 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Since they left. So we need to figure out how, and which is crazy because we got some explosive running backs. We just haven't had the big plays, the home run carries in the past few years. But I think going up against Bama, the biggest thing is what we typically do against Bama is we come out the gate fired up, and we'll jump out on them 21 to 14, or we'll jump out 21-7 or something like that. They might score late, but the problem is we typically do like the Falcons always used to, and start to pull the foot off the gas and try to coast and just hope to outlast, which it never really works.
Just real quick, Aussie's error cost us, could have ended the game right there. But it's funny though that UGA, that's like the rich like first world problems, like, oh, we haven't had a 50-yard run in 2 years or 1 year. Like, gee whiz, like that's and I'm sure a lot of programs haven't had that in a decade.
Yeah, but I mean, like you think about like Georgia's nickname is running back U.
Yeah.
So for running, like, and since Chubb, Swift, so we had Chubb, Sony Michel, and Swift all in the same backfield, and they all broke carries all the time. Yeah. Last year when Swift was the number one back, he didn't have any 50-plus yard runs. So it was just like the explosive.
Would he have like a 48? He had 47.
I think a couple 30 pluses, but I'm saying, like, even against the lesser opponents, like, we might play like a Southern or something like that. He didn't even have those kind of runs in those kind of games.
I'm hating the Braves' whole facial expressions right now. Like, Jesus, they're looking so scared.
Whew. All right, 2-0. Let's go.
Okay, we got it. Okay, there we go. They were looking real scared for a second.
I think that's a perfect segue for us. Take us on down to
but just real quick. So is Georgia winning or losing?
This is going to be our first test. I think their defense hadn't looked great, but they will play better against us. But our offense, our offense needs to really challenge them, and I know their offense will challenge our defense. So I'm hoping that we can beat Saban for the first time in the Kirby Smart era. This would be a better time than
call Lane Kiffin.
It'll be his first assistant to ever beat him.
Yeah.
All right, so as you probably heard the distress in our voice there for a little while, we were watching the Braves almost blow an 8-2 lead in the bottom of the ninth, but we wound up winning at 8-7 because Ozzie Albies, again with another postseason error here,
doing this game.
Yep, he needs to get it together. I don't know what's been going on in the postseason with him, but that puts us up 2-0 after we won game 1 5-1, where the offense, it was really a pitcher's duel in game 1, and we turned it on late against their bullpen and had 4 runs in the bottom of the ninth.
Top of the ninth,
sorry, yeah. Max Fried outduels Bueller in game 1. Ian Anderson comes in this game against, I can't remember his name, Gonsolin, and got the best of that matchup. And we really opened it up in the top of the fifth here in this game and went out ahead. So really our top two pitchers have looked good. Now it's going to come down to Kyle Wright versus, I don't know who they're going to throw out there in game 3. I think it starts with a P. I don't remember. I heard it earlier, but it's looking good, fellas. What are y'all seeing so far? What do y'all think of the series? I know a lot of us, we all picked the Braves to win 4-1 as a
Just
consensus.
intense optimism. I mean, I like how the Dodgers were rallying and we sort of, stabbed them in the heart real quick. So hopefully that momentum doesn't carry into the next game, but it potentially can. So I could see them being a little bit more confident. Yeah, man, I'm sticking with that prediction. And I'm hoping for a sweep, but still sticking with the 5.
Yeah. Micah, what you seeing?
I see the same thing. I think if Kyle Wright pitches up continues to pitch the way he has been, I think we'll go up 3-0. Game 4, I don't know if we plan on throwing Fried on short rest or.
Well, that's only 2 days, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So
might be a bullpen game.
Yeah, that's one of those things. You can see 3 days, but not 2 days rest. But I think we can win. Hopefully, we sweep whatever that bullpen game is. Hopefully, we wind up offensively. We have enough explosion in game 4
we win 12-9.
Oh yeah, that it doesn't matter. But hopefully that rally they had in the bottom of the 9th doesn't kind of get them fired up for the rest of the series, because they can make it definitely a lot more competitive. I'm really hoping sweep, because like I said, I don't want any stress. We got enough from the Falcons. Braves, keep us stress free.
The team that wins game 1 on the road, I know everyone's really on the road right now in the NLCS or the championship games, wins the series 59% of the time. I'd like to see the stats here, the sabermetrics on this for when you go up 2-0. I would assume it's probably pretty high. It probably jumps up pretty significantly. But we're looking good, man. We're looking like the best team in the major leagues right now. It's gonna if Tampa Bay makes it, man, that's a scary matchup. They're just like us. They get production 1 through 9. They got good pitching. They got a good bullpen. They're managed well. That would be an excellent World Series if that's what it is. The big news, though, coming out of LA is that Clayton Kershaw missed game 1 because of back spasms. Pushed to game 2, missed that one. Now they're saying he's not going to be out till game 4. So it looks like if we get Clayton Kershaw, he's probably not going to be at 100%. So that bullpen game might be a one that we can steal for sure. Because, as a pitcher, that lower back, if it's off, man.
Yeah, he'll be pressing.
Yeah. And it's real easy to have it flare back up, especially if you're pressing.
And you're choky.
I can't judge Clayton until, if you remove the Astros from that, and then the one series against the who was that? The Nationals.
Yeah. Nationals.
Yeah, if you remove those, he's really not that choky. I mean, the Nationals were just on fire, and then the Astros cheated. So
yeah, true. And that is.
Well, yeah. So tomorrow we'll look at game 3, see if Kyle Wright can go out, and let's actually see who that starter is for them, just so we can get an idea and look ahead a little bit. And by the way, the Astros are up 1-0 in the going into the bottom of the 5th. Jose Altuve hit a single shot.
Trying to make a series out of it.
So let's go to.
I love how right after the game they went straight to A-Rod's face and they just.
What if they found out Altuve was corking his bat?
It's going to be Julio Urias versus Kyle Wright. Julio was 3-0 in the season with a 3.27 ERA and 45 strikeouts.
Okay.
So that's in 11 games played, 10 games started. I don't really have any advanced stats on him because I didn't really have the time to look it up. But you know, we took their second and third best pitchers right now. Now we're looking at their fourth. They do have a deep pitching staff though, so he could be an excellent pitcher for all we know.
All right. We just hope we just keep the heat, don't get cold.
And our bullpen needs to play better than they did this game.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Sans
Tomlin.
1 inning.
They need to play better than Tomlin.
Well, I mean, what's his name? Gave up the 3-run shot too.
Oh yeah, O'Day.
Oh yeah, O'Day.
No,
it wasn't O'Day.
O'Day. The guy after
O'Day. Mentor came up and came in first.
Sorry.
Yeah,
our two worst relievers.
Yeah, but
O'Day, Jackson.
O'Day gave up a base hit, and he walked the guy and gave up a base hit, and then they put Mentor in, and Mentor immediately gave up a 3-run bomb.
Cool.
All right, is coming.
Well, I heard something earlier today that I'm not sure I agree with, but I'll ask and see what you guys think. So, because of the way Max Fried has pitched in this postseason and down the stretch, well, really this whole season since we lost Soroka pretty early, they are saying that Max Fried is our undoubted number one now. Even when Soroka comes back, Max Fried is our best pitcher that we have.
I mean, coming off an Achilles injury, I mean, you're gonna have to see, where he's at. So I don't think that's that outlandish to say.
It's Achilles. I mean, for pitching, it's not going to affect too much.
That leg drive.
But it was on his plant foot.
Mm.
So.
I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Well,
it's an excellent problem to have. It's an embarrassment, a wealth of riches, or an embarrassment of wealth, an embarrassment of riches, an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
Now, my thoughts on it is, I think next year, you might be looking at right, especially considering Soroka, considering what Soroka had to deal with coming back off the Achilles, but I think you can't just say that necessarily. You just can't peg him in as that, because 2 years from now, Soroka might continue, just keep getting better, because which I would love. But so if Fried, Soroka, and Ian Anderson all turn into these dominant pitchers, and then Kyle Wright, we can keep him, and we could be like the 90s Braves again.
Kyle Wright would be your Kevin Millwood, essentially.
Yeah, and except with the exception of the fact we actually have a more explosive offense than we had back then. So, it could be great.
Yeah. I mean, Ian Anderson's trending to be a number one. Kyle Wright's trending to, Max Fried's trending to be a number one. Soroka was already a number one. Kyle Wright is really, if he continues this, is looking like a fringe number one or number two. So finally, all these draft picks that we had, we cycled through all those guys, all those number one draft pick pitchers, brought them up. They got shelled for a while, cycled them around.
All I can say is I'm so glad the Braves didn't listen to some of our fan base, and they were just, we need to trade some of these prospects and get some big names in here. It's like, no, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, we've been watching them.
Yeah.
They said today that Ian Anderson had actually pitched 327 innings in the minor leagues.
Damn.
Oh crap.
Yeah. So he learned how to pitch down there. They said he always had the stuff, and they called him a freak. Because the good thing is though, I don't know if I brought this up when we were playing the Reds, but because Ian Anderson and actually Max Fried as well are both from up north, they didn't play year round like a lot of the pitchers do down here. So they don't have nearly as many innings on their arms. And so Alex Rodriguez made a good point. He's like, when I'm drafting pitchers from up north, hitters from down south. So you get that year-round hitting down here. But if you're a good pitcher up north, you're still a good pitcher. You just don't have the wear and tear on your arm.
A-Rod made a good point.
Yeah, right? I think that pretty much does it for this one.
Did we have a lightning round? Did you think of what was
I don't have one.
Didn't you say something?
I got one.
Okay.
So, if you could get the superpowers from any superhero, whatever, who would you choose? Which ones would you choose?
Oh, I'm gonna go first.
Go ahead.
I'd be Doctor Strange. That man can do anything. Alter time and space, go back in time, see different, universes, see different timelines. I mean, the dude was criminally not underrated, but they neutered him in the Marvel comic universe just because the dude was so powerful.
Well, the movies and stuff,
movies.
yeah.
So I'd take what, I don't know, how do you describe that power? What would you call it?
Everything.
Yeah.
Alchemy.
Right. I just want Doctor Strange's powers. That's what I want.
What about you, Marco?
I feel like you would say Doctor Strange was like, I feel like that would put you in such mental turmoil because you just being everywhere and being able to be in any timeline and do anything. I think that might take a mental strain, even though that'd be great.
Like Dr. Manhattan. Where are you right now? Here. And when we first met. And
exactly that kind of thing. Should we take Superman out of this? Because I would want, because Superman's pretty much all of the heroes on the Justice League.
Are we just picking one power though? Or are we just picking the person?
The person,
just,
or just
like if you could get their powers there? Yeah.
Okay, then I would go with Flash, just because when you're that fast, you can alter time and go in slow motion. And my thing has always been, for a superpower, I'd want to go in slow motion so I could play basketball and football. So,
go at 2% of your speed. You're like still toasting everybody.
Right. 15 steals a game, just control it.
I never saw him make a move.
But the net's on fire. What's going on?
What is going on here?
Oh man. So me personally, I was actually torn because I was thinking either the powers of Wolverine or the Hulk because of the regenerative abilities and stuff. But ultimately, I think I'm just settled on Thor. Just
which power
lightning.
in particular? Lightning.
the lightning and everything. The whole wielded hammer. That gigantic hammer.
You just want a hammer to come to you at any time.
Somebody's being a jerk. Enjoy your lightning.
Enjoy your spaghetti. You're very rude, but instead it's lightning.
That was probably now granted, Black Panther's powers aren't bad too, and having
what were his powers? I thought it was the suit.
Well, no, he ate the flower,
the purple herb or whatever.
Yeah,
and so he was like superhuman strength and speed, and not to mention he was the king of Wakanda, the most like the technologically advanced and richest nation in the world.
Not a bad deal.
So,
not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Someone's office phone is ringing.
That's the house phone.
A what?
Do you have a landline?
What is a landline? What?
A landline.
What is that? Yeah, I think that does it. I mean, do you have any recs? Anybody?
Not particularly.
Oh yeah, no, not.
I've got a
today.
rec for everybody. Get out and vote. Get out and
Right.
do it early. It may take you a couple hours, but trust me, it's going to be a lot better now than what it's going to be on the last day.
The sweet
Yeah.
spot's probably Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going-
maybe
I'm
even
going
next
tomorrow.
week, like Tuesday.
Monday was pretty rough. Today was still pretty rough. But yeah, I would probably agree. I mean, get out and get it done now. I felt such a burden lifted off of me once I
Right.
got it done. I was like, it felt good, and I'm glad it's over with. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right, exactly.
It was quick too. Once considering the amount of people that were there, it was really quick.
Quick. I
Mhm.
saw Mark Cuban posted something. I guess he was in Dallas getting out there early voting, and he was like, the lines are short and it moves quick. Mine would have been the lines are long and it moves slow.
Yeah, 3 hours is pretty.
Come on out.
The worst part was the first like 30 minutes of us waiting in line. We had crews with us.
Oh
But
god.
then our neighbors walked back by and they're like, "Hey, we can take crews." We're like, "Yes, please."
Yes.
He was already losing his mind. Cool. Well, that concludes another segment of Fish and Grits, the podcast.
Yes.
We may continue our. What do you want to do? I want to continue the post game recaps for the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, if
I would. I mean, definitely for next game because talk about what the
new
coaching
coaching
changes
staff
if it
Yeah,
made
true.
any impact.
Yeah. So catch us on YouTube Live. We will try and post the links on all the social media. We will go live as soon as the game finalizes, and I think it's a 1:00 game, so 4:30 ish. You'll probably see us go live and hop on there, talk about what happened. So, guys, see yourself out.
bye. Wait, bye. How do we see ourselves out?
Who am I? How do I do this? This is only episode 23. What's going on?
Bye.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe out there and go vote.
Yep.
Yeah, what he said.
What he said. Bye.